What is up, Booger Beans? Welcome back to another episode of Eventually Little Boog. I'm Tanner, this is Booger down here, and today we are going to start doing some electrical wiring and some framing, hopefully, on the bus. I've got a whole bunch of just like leftover rolls of 14 and 12 gauge wiring. So this is going to be for the 12 volt lights throughout the entire bus. We're going to do 12 volt lighting, and then we're going to just have a couple 120 volt plugs along the sides. We'll probably have one in the bedroom, two or three in the kitchen, and then one on either side of the couch in the living room, and maybe one up front. And then obviously we have one for the fridge, but I think we'll just include that in the kitchen plugs. So that's kind of the plan today. For the 12 volt wiring, we are going to use this stranded 14 and 12 gauge wire. And then for the 120 volt wiring, we're going to use Lumex, which is like a solid copper wiring that we use in houses. So that's what we're going to use. But the plan is basically to patch together as much of this stuff that I can to make it work. Hopefully I don't have to have a whole bunch of patches. Hopefully we can have it all be one length to the bus. I am going to buy a 12 volt, a pack of 12 volt LED lights, which is 10 in a pack. And then we're also going to have LED uplighting kind of running along the side of the bus. I'm sure if you guys have watched anything about Skoolies, almost everybody does that. So we're going to have that, and then we're going to have 6 lights here, and then maybe 2 or 3 in the bathroom, and then 1 over top of the bed, or maybe 2 over top of the bed, depending on how it looks. And if we have to add 1 or 2 more, we can always do that. I haven't ordered those yet. I'll throw the link in the description below if you guys want to take a look at them. But before we get to it, please don't go down, hit that subscribe button, and also give us a comment if you guys have any bus names. Again, we're trying to brainstorm a lot of bus names to try and figure out what to name this beastie, but we just haven't been able to find something that quite fits right yet. So if you have something or you heard something, please let us know in the comments down below, and let's do some wiring. We're going to run our lighting in the roof, but then we're going to run all of our wiring in along this loom here. So we're going to have a bit of a chase that will run up a little bit angled off the top of the windows, where we'll be able to put our LED lighting, and where we'll also be able to run chassis wiring, and then our wiring for the house part of the bus. Though we don't want to cross-contaminate those 2 wirings, because this wiring is all run off the starting batteries, and the lighting wiring and all that stuff will be run off the house batteries. So that way, if it's cold out or whatever, and it doesn't even matter if it's cold out actually, but if we're out for a weekend, we're using the lights, we're using plug-ins, we're using whatever else, we aren't killing the house or the starting batteries and basically making it so the bus can't run. So we're going to keep these 2 systems completely separate. There might be a couple things that cross over, just 1 or 2 lights, so that if we're driving or whatever, we can just be running those lights on the starting battery. But other than that, they'll be completely separate. So that's where we're going to run all the wiring. But to start, I'm going to tape all this wiring that I've went through, removed what we don't need, back together, so that I don't end up messing with it or screwing around with it, and it's all fine. So that's what we're going to do now. Done is up here. I have drilled a hole on this side and a hole on that side, and same in that one there. So now I can put a light right here. I'll run a wire through this hole over to basically here somewhere, where we'll put another light, and then we'll run through the wires through this hole over to this beam here, run down the side of the beam, and then into the mechanical room right there. So that's the plan. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have 2 wires, a yellow and a white, sticking out of this hole right here, about 6 inches of wire hanging there. Then I'll come over to here and again put about 6 inches of wire hanging down here, a wire coming from here with 6 inches of wire, and then this going over to there, and then down over to there with, I don't know, 5 feet of wire, 6 feet of wire. That way, what we'll be able to do is we'll be able to have the wiring in before we put the insulation up, and then once the wiring's in, we put the insulation over top of that, vapor barrier or whatever, and then we can put the wire or the lights up. And the lights are actually hooked into the ceiling, so we have to put in the ceiling panels, then drill a hole, and then put the LED light into the ceiling panel. So that's why we got to put the wiring in before we put the ceiling panels in, but have enough space so that there's enough space to put the wires from the light to the wires for the fixture. I do have to have a light switch on here somehow. So the lights are going to come from down here into mechanical room, and then we'll probably put a switch basically on this wall right here, or maybe on this wall right here somewhere, and hopefully that works. The wiring for this set of lights is in there. Now just note, a lot of this is kind of temporary. So the problem is, I need the lights in the ceiling before I can put up the insulation and before I can put up the paneling. But that being said, I also want the paneling up on the ceiling before I can build any of the walls. So the problem that I'm running into is, how much wire do I leave after I put some lights in the ceiling? Because I want the lights to come down through the wall or in the wall or on the wall to the fuse box that we have to supply power to everything, but also to the light switches. Well, the light switches are mounted on the walls. I don't have any walls because I don't have any ceiling paneling. I don't have any ceiling paneling because I don't have any insulation and wiring. So unfortunately, it's kind of a paradox that we've run into on how to do this. So I'm putting the wiring up basically rather temporarily, with a lot of extra wiring left over, so that I understand we might end up wasting a bit more wiring, but we'll be able to have the paneling up so that we can start building the walls. That's all I can do right now. I'm debating on this circuit actually throwing in one more light, so that if we're in bed or whatever, you want to wake up, you can turn on the lights and well, actually no, it'll be fine. I'll have the bathroom on a different circuit. I'll run the bathroom on a different circuit. So we're gonna have 3 lights in the bathroom, and then we'll have, I guess, 5 lights in the living area and kitchen. So I'll probably have 3 over the kitchen and then 2 on either end of the couch. So that's kind of the plan. So let's keep plugging away here. I'm probably gonna run out of wiring pretty damn quick though. There's a lot of space on this bus. So let's try and see what we can get finished here. Okay guys, so now I have run out of wiring that I had in the bus. So yeah, no more wiring until after Christmas when we have money to buy stuff to put more wiring in the bus. But I'm going to start putting the steel back on the heaters of the bus, because that area is all wrapped up. So if we can try, and I don't know if you guys can see it in this shot, but over there. If we can try and get that all cleaned up and like maybe framed in and like starting to look good, that would be really nice. And we'll start to frame that back away, and it will all look good and happy. And we also have to put that one board on the front of the frame over here, so we're going to do that as well. So yeah, that's what we're up to.
White snow, red sky, reach up for so high. Blue eyes, fake cry, beware of the fox tonight.
Tonight guys, we're gonna try and get the top of this put in place. So I've got one leftover sheet of plywood. Actually it's not a full sheet, about a half a sheet of plywood left over from when we did the floor. So I'm going to use that sheet and hopefully build the top of this. Then after that, I'm going to go and work a little bit on the control panel. So on the control panel, we removed about 20 switches, maybe 15, 20 switches, I think. I'm just trying to look at it right now, but so I removed a lot of switches. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the switches that we actually need, and move them and condense them down into a smaller package so we can have a nice small compact location for all of our switches and everything on the dash, and help to make that front driver's compartment a little bit more conducive and a little bit more user friendly, I guess. So we're going to try and do that and start working on that tonight as well. So let's get to cutting on this guy, and then we'll start working up there. So what I am going to do is I am going to lay the sheet right on top of here, and I'm going to trace out the shape, and hopefully that will work perfectly.
This time tomorrow I will be gone, a faded memory, forever.
Alright, we got that all in. So there's the board. Nicely done. The thing that I'm having a bit of an issue with is it feels a little bit springy. I don't think you guys can see it on camera, but you can I can feel it flexing for sure. Now, that being said, it's not screwed down right now, so that also adds to it. But I think we do need one support in the middle. So I'm going to measure that up and cut a support to run down the middle of the frame here, so that it is less flexy. So let's get that done. Sometimes you're going to be working alone on your bus. So tonight I don't have the help of Sydney because she is doing her last day of practicum tomorrow. So she's busy getting prepped for that. But I'll just show you what I did here to help line up this board in the middle. So I went and I took a clamp and I clamped a 2x4 to the underside of this 2x4. Then I can set my my frame right on top of it, and I'll be able to put a little bit of glue in here, and also put the screws in and screw it all together. So yeah, that's how you do that. All right, there she is. There she be. What a beauty. All right, so that's ready to have some. We're gonna put some insulation underneath it above the wheel well to help with sound, and to help with obviously thermal insulation to keep that area a bit warmer. But that's basically that. We need a little bit more plywood to go around the outside. I just don't have that plywood, but we're probably also not going to use 5/8 plywood. We probably use just 1/4 inch or maybe even 3/8 or something like that around the edges. Just because A, it's cheaper, B, it's lighter. So that's where we're at for that. That's all done. And now we can move forward and start tackling more of that guy up there. So let's do that now. As you guys can see on the panel, we've removed a lot of lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 in that spot, and there's another 6 down there. So we've removed quite a lot that we don't need in the bus anymore. But this panel is quite a nice panel to use, so we don't want to just throw it out. So I think what I'm going to do is take all these switches that we are using and relocate them and condense them down into this nice arranged area, and then I'll have to obviously put new labels or whatever, or just remember what they do. But we need to keep the heater, the main heater, the heat position, defroster, and the air. So that's all got to stay. So I'm going to try and basically use this middle block, which I think I can fit all of the stuff into that space. So let's see what we can do there. I have been able to condense it all down like that. So I wanted to keep the heaters in the same location, so these heaters and fan are still the same. This is an extra port. I don't know if we're going to use that for anything, but in the case we need it, that's an extra port. We've got our lights on these two, so I'm going to have to obviously update the name here. This is our lights, this is our mirror defrost, this is all of our heater controls, and we used to have 2 wipers, so it would control the windshield wipers independently. But A, we don't need that, and B, I can just hijack it all into one controller and have it all do everything at once. So that seems a lot more simple. So what we're gonna do is go and basically cut this out nice and smooth all around there, and then we'll either sand it down and repaint it black, or we'll go and get a decal printed for it that we can stick on, or something along those lines. But yeah, it's much more compact than this huge thing, and just much cleaner. So yeah, that's what we got up to. All right, Booger Beans, so that is the end of this episode. We really appreciate you guys watching. Our channel has been growing like crazy lately. So as long as YouTube still finds us commercially viable in their new terms of service, we will still have videos coming out to you every single Thursday night. So stick with us. We are going to be a little bit slower on the bus build, and we might go do some fishing or geocaching videos like we used to back in the old days, just because of cost, mostly. So to get the insulation and the paneling and the lighting finished up, it's going to be about $1,100 to $1,200, which is a bit expensive right before Christmas. So that's probably not going to happen until the new year, but we'll still keep plodding along on things that we can do for either free or very low cost, until we can save up that little bit of money and be able to put it on our onto the bus. So as always, guys, thanks for watching and have a great night. Oh, don't forget to go down, hit that subscribe button, smash the like button, and it really helps us out. So that's it for now. Thanks, guys. Have a great night.